Hello and welcome to Films According to Chris Wyatt presents Sequels Revisited. Well, and continuing with the Halloween theme this month, we've got another horror film review for you today. So for this episode, let's talk about the Gremlins series.
The original Gremlins was released in 1984 and directed by Joe Dante. This unique horror comedy was about a young man named Billy Peltzer who receives an unusual creature known as a mogwai named Gizmo as a gift. Caring for Gizmo requires following 3 rules. 1. Keep them away from bright lights, namely sunlight, as that will kill it. 2. Don't get them wet, as that makes them multiply. And 3. The most important rule, don't feed them after midnight, as that will make them go into cocoons and undergo a transformation into full-on gremlins. Small monsters that exist only to make mischief and chaos. Billy accidentally breaks these rules, and before you know it, gremlins are wreaking havoc on the once peaceful town.
Now, I love the original Gremlins. It's actually one of my all-time favorite films. It's a near-perfect blend of B-movie horror and slapstick comedy. Not to mention it has some great puppet effects and throws in some clever satire.
I guess you could call Gremlins the anti-It's a Wonderful Life. It uses a Capra-esque small-town setting to lampoon materialism, greed, and excess consumerism. And whether it be because of its clever concept, memorable effects, or well-executed tones, Gremlins was a hit with both audiences and critics. The sequel was released 6 years later. Joe Dante returned to the director's chair, along with returning actors Zach Galligan and Phoebe Cates. While I wouldn't call the film hated per se, it definitely didn't achieve the same success as its predecessor. Critics and audiences were fairly divided, and box office returns were below expectations. The sequel moves the setting from small-town Americana to the bustling New York metropolis. Billy and his fiancée Kate now work in a super high-tech office building owned by eccentric billionaire Donald Clamp. Once again, Billy reunites with Gizmo, and because this is a movie sequel, nobody learns anything from the previous encounters, and another batch of gremlins appear, and yeah, you can see where this is going. Now, when it comes to criticism surrounding Gremlins 2, the one I hear most often is about the dramatic change in tone. While the first one was a pretty even blend of horror and comedy, the sequel forgoes most of the horror and goes straight Looney Tunes.
So ladle up some of our chowder noodles.
I actually mean that quite literally. Hell, the film sets the tone by opening with a Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck cartoon. That said, it does manage to throw in a few well-executed jump scares.
I mean, it's always midnight somewhere.
Now, I will admit that the change in tone is a little disappointing. I just felt like some of the darker undertones from the first film was a better fit for this series. Still, I feel like Gremlins 2 does make up for it in other ways.
For one, the puppet effects are still awesome. Actually, they've improved a bit since the first film, coming up with more varied designs. One of the film's most memorable subplots involves the gremlins going nuts in a genetics lab, drinking chemicals and turning themselves into these weird hybrid-like creatures. For instance, there's a vegetable gremlin, a spider gremlin, a bat gremlin, an electric gremlin, and even a super smart gremlin voiced by Tony Randall.
I mean, you take a look at this fellow here. Now, was that civilized? No, clearly not. Fun, but in no sense civilized.
Yeah, they got really creative with this film. Story-wise, like its predecessor, it throws in some more commentary on excess consumerism and capitalism. The fact that it's set in this high-rise full of impressive but mostly unnecessary technological innovations makes it the perfect playground for the gremlins to tear apart. And even when it drops its story to focus on a series of slapstick or sight gags, most are funny enough to keep the film entertaining. It also includes some self-referential meta-humor, poking fun at itself as the cash-grab sequel it is, while also spoofing aspects of its predecessor, such as a few plot holes regarding the don't feed them after midnight rule, among a few other things.
What if one of them eats something at 11 o'clock, but then he gets something stuck in his teeth?
Yeah, like a caraway seed or a sesame seed.
Whatever, right.
And then after 12 o'clock, it comes out. Now, he didn't eat that after midnight.
Yeah, that's
Look,
right.
I didn't make the rules, okay?
Now, I'll be honest, I have mixed feelings toward TV shows or movies that are quote-unquote meta. On one hand, they can work. I mean, films like Cabin in the Woods and Dale and Tucker vs. Evil are great self-aware send-ups of their respective genres, while films like Lady in the Water are not. It's just this conception that you can get away with lazy or cheap writing by having your main characters wink to the audience once in a while, letting you know that they're in on the joke. And I'm sorry, but a lazy joke is a lazy joke, and bad writing is bad writing.
Fortunately, Gremlins 2 manages to be just self-aware enough to be amusing without devolving into straight-up spoof territory, so I'll give it a pass.
So is Gremlins 2 the new batch an underrated sequel? I'd say so.
You can't top the original, it's just too good of a film. But between a series of fun sight gags, well-timed slapstick, impressive effects, and a story that's just clever enough to keep you invested, Gremlins 2 manages to be better than the usual Hollywood sequel, resulting in a film that's generally entertaining.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York, yes sir.
Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of Gremlins 2 by leaving me a comment below. And if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click subscribe and tune in every Monday for a new video. I've also got links to some of my previous videos on the side over there, and links to my social media pages in the description box below. See you next time.